And I'm just going to quickly cover kind of the high level with regards to how we are implementing machine learning in production environments. So the first is creating a common data model. So this is something that, for example, Facebook, Google, Amazon, Netflix are very good at doing this, but kind of traditional media companies have been a little bit slow to adopt. The second component, which the video touched on, is how our APIs implement into video players to actually capture audience behavior. Something we'll touch on briefly is how we do that in a GDPR compliant way, which is a very relevant topic for those of you dealing with it right now. And lastly, how you essentially develop insight and kind of get it to teams in an actionable way. So the first component here we're going to talk about is metadata ingestion and taxonomy creation, and then we'll kind of move through those other steps. The major takeaway here in terms of creating a common data model is every business is unique. So if you're a broadcaster, a news publisher, you may have some common ground with other news publishers and best practices you can adopt. But you're also going to have like topics, like sections of your paper or areas that you have specific coverage. So there's a number of examples that Kara will talk about. But one is like the Olympics, right, or other kind of special series. And having a taxonomy and common data model around that makes the data model machine learning manipulable in the future, so you can actually structure business rules around it. The second piece, the API integration, this is fairly straightforward, like most APIs, but IRIS.TV kind of sits on top of any player. In this use case, this is kind of a Brightcode backend, and IRIS.TV is also able to implement API installation. So if you have your own video player, as Gannett does now, then it's also kind of easy to integrate. And finally, in terms of how this personalizes video, a little bit of background. Setting up and structuring, creating, using NLP to create that contextual kind of relevant data on an asset level sets up the first kind of machine learning system, as well as what device, time of day, other contextual information, and finally like cohort analysis. So those three kind of sit under a business rules engine that allow an editorial team or product team like Gannett and USA Today to essentially then control the machine learning.